Hello, my name is Jeff Hajek. I'm the owner and founder of Action, and I'm going to do a new type of video. This is just something called Nagara. It is the idea of doing two things at once. So I'm driving somewhere, I'm going to get an allergy shot, and while I'm on the road, I figure I would knock out a couple of videos on frequently asked questions. So one of the questions I get asked often is about layoffs and lean. So there's this idea that lean is a cost reduction tool, and one of the ways it does that cost reduction is by improving the efficiency of operations. Now, if you know about efficiency, you don't actually capture any efficiency gains unless you actually reduce headcount. So it doesn't matter how fast you're going, if you still have the same number of people doing the same amount of work, there's no improvement in productivity. So that doesn't, if you increase the output, that works. But if you have the same output and you just reduce the time it takes to do something, unless you get rid of people, it doesn't actually have an impact on your cost. So the question is, if you're using lean and you are making those changes and you're making efficiency gains, should lean lead to headcount reductions? And the short answer is, yeah, you can do it one time and one time only. The whole point is, if you reduce headcount because of your gains in lean, you're going to lose trust. And lean relies heavily, extremely heavily, on employee engagement. If employees are not engaged and working on lean with you as a team, you are never going to make gains the way you could. So, yeah, the short answer is there is an option to make gains one single time, because once you do that, you lose that trust. So the short of it is, though, if you do want to make gains, with lean in terms of productivity, you really have to be focusing on how do you look ahead and see what do you do with the productivity enhancement. So if your company is growing, it's no problem. You just grow, and you grow without adding any people. So you end up with the same number of people getting a higher output. So they're going to be working the same amount of hours, but getting more done. So with a productivity increase, if your company's growing, you make those gains. Now the problem is, what if your company's not growing, or if you're really good at continuous improvement and you grow and you improve faster than you're growing? That can present a problem in terms of headcount, because you really want to be able to capture those gains, but you can't, you can't lay people off because of the gains that they're making. It's not an incentivizer. So what you have to do then is figure out, what are you going to do with those people? So the first thing I always recommend is creating a resource team. And a resource team is a collection of people that are almost like in a holding pattern. And they're used for backfilling any other people when there's absences. They can be the first source to go to when you want to hire. So if you do have an opening in a different department, you can hire from the resource team. But one of the biggest things that this group is good for is improvement projects. They are great because they've done a lot of them, so they're really good at the basic tools. But they're also good at backfilling for people. They've got a pretty versatile group in there. And, typically you want to put your top performers on the resource team. So this group of people can go and fill in if somebody's on a project. So somebody goes under Kaizen project, the resource team can send somebody over to do production work. So the person in the shop can actually go and do it. So that's one way you can avoid laying people off, is by using a resource team. And then the other one is attrition. So, you may have to just sit on extra high staffing, and just over time people are going to retire or leave to go to different jobs, and then you just adjust with the staff you have. So if it's not a person that's been freed up, you just move somebody over. So you basically manage your headcount through attrition and get your reductions that way. So if you can just avoid hiring people over a long period of time, it's the same as laying people off, but delayed. And then there's no bad feelings about it. And then the final part is, if you just can't wait and you really need to make those changes, you can either offer incentives and pay people to take an early retirement or to leave the company. You give them a severance package for any volunteers who would like to go elsewhere. And you might have to make it kind of lucrative to get them to leave, but it's less expensive in the long run than having extra staff that you don't need. And then the other thing you can do is, if you find some other companies, you can line up a job for them somewhere else. You go and find find employment for them, help them find additional work, and wait till they get it lined up. But yes, there's a lot of different ways to manage it, but the short of it is never fire anybody for continuous improvement efforts. Never lay them off. Thanks. This is Jeff Hajek, signing out.